kazi yake, na sisi kama wananchi tukamunge mkono, hata wale waliopigia mlengo ule na wale walipigia mwingine, tushikane pamoja tuweze kupeleka nchi yetu mbele.
Mimi ni chama wa bodaboda hapa Mwingi Town. Yangu ni furaha sana kwa wakati kama huu. Nishangu na vingelegele kwa kupata rais wetu tulikuwa tunatarajia.
Chenye ningependa kusema ni kushukuru mahakama yetu ya hapa Kenya kwa sababu ya ile kazi ambayo imefanya kazi nzuri kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumepata kiongozi ambaye ni wa halali. Na ningependa kuhimiza na kuambia watu wa Kenya wenzangu, tudumishe amani na tukumbali kile ambacho kimetokea. Yule ambaye amekuwa rais tumkumbali kama rais wetu na tufanye kazi na yeye.
Those are sentiments from residents in Mwingi. Now let's sample what Kenyans had to say, those residing especially within Naivasha in Nakuru County.
Sugoi. Okay.
Kazi na wao pamoja kwa sababu tulikuwa tumelilia Mungu sana na amefanya kulingana na haki na sheria yenye tulikuwa tunataka. Kwa hivyo sisi tutakuwa na amani kuanzia saa hii mpaka milele na milele.
Na mimi nilikuwa upande wa baba na asiyekubali kushindwa si msirani. So mimi nataka kusema congratulations Deputy President ambaye umechaguliwa kama president wa Kenya.
Those are sights and scenes from Naivasha there in Nakuru County. Now we want to take you to Uasin Gishu County and in particular to Sugoi, where my colleague Timothy Kipnusu is on ground. Good evening, Timothy. There, we will be joining Timothy Kipnusu, who is in Sugoi there, the home of President-elect William Ruto there, already surrounded by Kenyans who are eager to give their message in regard to the latest development. Good evening, Kipnusu. How are you? I hope you can hear me loud and clear now. Tell us, what is the situation in Sugoi?
A very good evening to you, Regina Manyara, back there at the broadcasting house in Nairobi. Yes, indeed, I'm still pitching camp here in Uasin Gishu County, the political bedrock of the President-elect William Ruto. Actually, I am at Ruto's residence here in Sugoi, and celebrations were underway a few minutes ago. A number of residents who had gathered here to celebrate the announcement or proclamation from the 7-judge bench were here, and the celebration was immense, the excitement was immense, and just before we managed to make our way here in Sugoi, a number of areas, particularly in the CBD, was you cannot move. Transport was really paralyzed because a number of residents took to the streets to celebrate. It was pomp and color, celebrating the son of the soil, Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto, after the judgment made by the Supreme Court judges. And just to paint a picture, I'm joined by a number of residents, including elected leaders who are here together with residents to celebrate the victory from the 7-judge bench after they have affirmed the president-elect win, William Samoei Arap Ruto. Many thanks indeed for joining us. Actually, is Nicholas Bitok, the area member of County Assembly for Tapsagoi ward, the ward where Ruto comes from. Many thanks indeed for joining us. How do you make the assessment of the judgment from the Supreme Court? Who made the decision today?
Kwanza nashukuru, mimi naitwa Nicholas Bitok Rende, MCA at Tapsagoi ward. Hapa penye nyumbani kwa president elect. Tunashukuru sana kwa judgment ambayo imefanyika siku ya leo. Imeonyesha kuwa ilikuwa uwazi na walifanya kazi jinsi sheria inavyotakikana, kwa sababu kwa kweli hakukuwa na kesi. Ruto aliweza kushinda kinakaubaga. Tunafurahia sana judgment bench ya watu 7 ambaye wote 7 walikubaliana kuwa President William Samoei Ruto ndiye aliyechaguliwa na wananchi, na yeye ndio anastahili ushike usukani ya urais katika Kenya, taifa letu la Kenya.
As a leader who is elected here in Tapsagoi ward, what are your expectations under the administration of William Samoei Ruto, bearing in mind the country is really grappling with a number of issues from corruption and of course also the high cost of living? What is your expectation au matarajio yako ni yapi?
Matarajio yangu ni makubwa sana, kwa sababu mimi mwenyewe namjua Rais Ruto tangia alipokuwa mbunge wetu, akakuwa deputy president, na sasa amepewa usukani kuwa rais. Na matumaini makubwa sana kwa sababu ameweza kuyatatua mambo mengi katika taifa letu la Kenya. So kwa hivyo tuna matumaini mengi na atayaweza mambo ya economy, mambo mengi, hata ya corruption ambaye mara mingi wamesema kuwa yeye ni corrupt, lakini sisi wenyewe kwa sababu alikuwa mbunge wetu na amekuwa rais wa deputy president wa Kenya, naelewa na kujua kuwa atafanya mambo yatawezekana. Yes.
Wenyinyi wanasiasa kila mara mnakuwa wepesi kutoa ahadi mbele ya umma, lakini kutekeleza inakuwa ni donda sugu au ni kitendawili. Kwa mtazamo wako kwamba baadhi tu ya ahadi ambazo wananchi wametoa kwa viongozi nyinyi ambao mmechaguliwa mmetoa kwa wananchi, ni nini hasa kinakuwa kigumu kutekeleza ahadi zile?
Mambo ya kutekeleza mambo ya ahadi katika uongozini ni mara mingi watu wana mahitaji mengi na mapato ni machache. Kama for example sasa kama ward yetu hii ina mahitaji ya over millions, lakini sasa for example ward allocation ya ward yetu ya Tapsagoi tunapata 45 million. So wakati unapanga kusukuma ingine, kuweka kando, kuongeza ingine na kufanya, hauwezi timiza yote kwa safari moja. So inakuanga scarce resources na mambo mengi ambayo tunahitaji tufanye.
Thank you so much, Nicholas Bitok, the member of County Assembly Tapsagoi ward. I can get a view from the chief or Sugoi chief David Samoei. Actually he has the same name with the president-elect. Pengine unahisi vipi kuhusiana na ile uamuzi uliotolewa na majaji wa mahakama ya upeo?
Kwanza majina yangu ni Senior Chief David Samoei wa kata ya Sugoi hapa Uasin Gishu. Kwanza kama mkaaji wa hapa tuna furaha nyingi sana kwa sababu koti kuu ama Supreme Court ya siku ya leo imetoa uamuzi ambaye inafanana na ile wananchi walishatoa pale tarehe 9 mwezi huu wa Septemba, mwezi huu wa Agosti wakati wa uchaguzi. Kwa hivyo mambo yalikuwa sawa sawa, muda tu ambayo tulikuwa tunangojea na court time is the best.
Pengine jambo ambalo unaona kwamba Ruto anastahili kulipa kipaumbele hasa atakapoapishwa tarehe 13?
Mambo ni mengi, lakini usalama wa nchi yetu, mambo ya uchumi wa nchi yetu, na pia ile ahadi ambazo walitoa kwa wananchi, yeye ni mtu wa kusema na kutenda. Nafikiri mambo yote ambayo walisema katika manifesto yetu ya UDA atimiza kabisa. Kwa hivyo tunaamini yeye ni mtu wa kusema na kutimiza.
Asante sana chifu wa eneo la Sugoi. Pengine nizungumze na mmoja wa wanasiasa ambaye amechaguliwa kutoka ward ya Simat kule katika eneo bunge la Kapsaret na kutoka Oscar Sudi. Pengine kwanza kabisa kwa yule ambaye anatizama umevalia mgonda haya, pengine inaashiria nini hasa wakati ambapo eneo hili linasherehekea kutangazwa kwa Ruto kama rais mteule?
Asante sana. Kwa majina ni Solomon Limo. Mimi natoka kule Simat Kapsaret ward, sub county ya Kapsaret. Actually siku ya leo tuko na furaha sana. Unavyoona sisi tumefalia hii inaonyesha tumepata ushindi na tuko na furaha sana kama jamii ya Wakalenjin wote. Tuko na furaha sana kwa sababu ukiona tumefalia hiyo ni ishara ya kuonyesha tumepata ushindi.
Pengine katika uongozi wa Ruto unatarajia ni nini hata anaweza kufanya ili iweze kuhakikisha kwamba taifa hili linapiga hatua kubwa kwa maendeleo?
Asante sana. Tuko na expectations mingi sana kwa president wetu Dr. William Samoei Ruto, sababu tunajua sisi wote tunajua ni asla na atashika mahasla wote. Mama mboga tunajua wako na ahadi ya mama mboga, watu wa bodaboda, hawa ndio watu deputy president wetu Dr. William Samoei Ruto atainua kutoka chini mpaka juu.
Asante. Regina, allow me for the purposes of gender interview a lady here. Songa hapa mama, pengine uweze kutueleza unahisi vipi baada ya Ruto kutangazwa na kuwa mshindi, na vile vile kuzungumzia kuhusiana na kuwepo kwa wanawake katika nyadhifa mbalimbali za uongozi, manake hilo limekuwa halijajitokeza, japo wananchi wameweza kuchagua wanawake wengi katika nyadhifa mbalimbali za uongozi kuanzia kwa ugavana na kwenda chini. Pengine matarajio yako ni yapi katika uongozi wa Ruto atakapoapishwa?
Asante sana kwa majina, mimi naitwa Nelly Cheruyot. Nyumbani ni hapa Sugoi. Tunashukuru kwanza Mungu Mwenyezi kwa maana tulivyoomba akatusikia. Tarajio yangu yenye naambia Ruto, Mungu akusaidie kama vile alikusaidia. Utasidi kusaidia wananchi wote, hata kama ni upande wa kina Raila atasaidia huko. Sisi wote ni wa Kenya, tunaomba amani. Tunashukuru Mungu alitupa amani, lakini tunaomba Ruto asaidie kwanza vijana. Kunao vijana wa mapotapota wako na shida sana. Tunaomba rais wetu akuja saidia. Kunao mama mboka, ndio unaona hata Mungu alisaidia wamama wengi ndio wakachakuliwa, kwa maana anajua uchungu, na sana sana najua wamama wengine nao wanatusikia. Tunasi Ruto sana tusaidie. Kuna watoto wetu walimaliza university, wako nyumbani, hawana makazi. Tunaomba hata akipata nafasi wengine waende ng'ambo, wengine atuandikie vijana wetu kazi, ndio sisi kutembea tu. Hizo tu ndio naomba Mungu tu amsaidie Ruto, asaidie asimame kabisa imara, aone kila mtu. Hii Kenya ni yetu sisi wote. Nashukuru.
There you have it, Regina. A number of residents and of course also elected leaders having high expectation from the president-elect William Samarap Ruto once is sworn in, ranging from high cost of living, talking of unemployment amongst the youth, talking of fighting the thorn, or the rather corruption, which is a thorn in the flesh in the country, and of course a number of issues helping the Mama Mboga. Remember, Ruto has been categorical that those are the people that he will be taking keen interest to help and ensure that they really get a development or get assisted to put food on the table. And of course, we will be here just to paint a picture. A number of elected leaders, I'm told they will be having a function tomorrow to give thanks to God for granting them an opportunity, having their son in the top seat in the land. From me, Timothy Ekipnosu, I hand you back to studio, Regina Manyara.
Indeed, Timothy, thank you. We can see even from the background, indeed, residents down there in Sugoi are in quite some jubilation there after the verdict was delivered in their favor. Now we want to cross over to Bomet and see if the situation is as in Sugoi Uasin Gishu. Here's Bomet.
Kwa sababu watu ambao wamefaidika ni wapiga kura. Wana furaha kwa ile uamuzi ile tumepata kutoka kwa mahakama yetu ya upeo, our Supreme Court, kwa sababu wameamua unanimously 7 out of 7 to upheld the election of our 5th president, none other than William.
Now, those were scenes from Bomet there, and also just members of the public expressing their, views in regard to the direction in which the judgment at the Apex Court has taken. Now we go to Migori County. Let's sample also the sights and sounds of Migori. Well, peace, we move as one and deliver on the promises that you made to us during the campaigns. It seems that President-elect William Ruto has his work cut out. Ben?
Indeed,
raid there, and as you can see, Kenyans, just as they voted peacefully, they are celebrating peacefully. And I would like to engage my lawyer because he has to attend to some other matters. But looking at the two speeches, one by the president-elect and one by Wafula Chebukati, and of course by the Supreme Court, they say that the election conducted by IEBC was free, fair, credible, and verifiable, and actually affirmed that all the 7 judges did that. How do you think Wafula Chebukati is feeling at the moment? Because he has overseen 3 elections, twice in 2017 and now 2022, all which were disputed, but the court has vindicated him.
Oh yes, he must be over the moon now, because for the last 7 days he has been very demonized by the various voters, and the Supreme Court decision is final. There can be no appeal or any variation. What I'm happy about, and we must say ongera to all Kenyans, everyone wants peace, peace, peace. We be united. We move forward.
All right. I'm informed that we have an issue on your with your microphone, but we are gonna get to that. Let me cross over to the other side and get Wakili's sentiment on the same. How is Wafula Chebukati now feeling? From his statement, he talked about a lot was happening behind the curtains, threats, intimidation. And he talked about 2 officials actually died. And something very interesting he mentioned is none of the civil societies came out to condemn that. I don't know whether Wakili's microphone is okay now? All right.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's hear from Gisore first.
Yes, Bentre, you see, Wafula Chebukati was the man who said everybody was gunning for. And the fact that the court has actually exonerated him or didn't quite find him to be guilty of the things that they were asking, I think it's about time we say that he's like that lady who was brought to Jesus for stoning. Jesus started writing the sins and people disappeared. So that is how he should be feeling, that his life has been saved, because the man has really worked. The man has really given his best, but Kenyans cannot be really in a position to say that he has done that, but at least the court found it in his favor. That is something which should give him remorse. He's retiring in January, so you will go home a happy man. And he doesn't have another election to run to be accused. So he should be the happiest man. About the civil society bit is quite interesting, because I mean, he feels the weight that how is it that everyone cannot be able to see it from my side? Everybody should be able to point fingers and say that it's me who is the bad person. And I think he should be the happiest man. He will sleep soundly today.
Yes. Wakili.
Yes, in my view, Chebukati must be very happy. I know, or rather I suspect, he must have applied the Maraga Land decision and complied with it to the letter, going by what the judges have ruled. And as I was saying earlier on, the Supreme Court judgment is final. There can be no appeal, there can be no variation, and we have to accept that reality. Every Kenyan must accept that. We now need to move to the next stage of nation building to ensure there is peace. I'm very happy with Kenyans, because across the country, including a stronghold of Honorable Raila, everyone says we want peace. We want Amani, we want peace and unity. That should be the spirit, because it is a core value under Article 10 of our Constitution, because what is important to us is peace, a peaceful and thriving nation. It is unfortunate that we lost some officers during, in the line of duty. That should never happen again in Kenya. No Kenyan should lose life. No Kenyan should fight each other. No Kenyan should be injured because of electoral processes. And I think we have really gone, a lot of changes have taken place. We are quite far ahead compared to 2017.
And one final one, looking at what IEBC is talking about, and now, yes, we have been given a clean bill of health, and supporters of President-elect are elated and say that indeed we have followed the law and IEBC has been on top of its game. On the other hand, we have supporters of Azimio and Raila Odinga who really take it as a big loss. Yes, indeed it is a loss, but don't we have to look at the other side of how Kenya has won? Because at the end of the day, just as I said earlier on, is that the petitions that Raila has come up with since the year 2013 have worked towards strengthening the democracy and the rule of law. There are so many things. We had a big law lacuna, but now we have some constitutional interpretation brought about by this petition, which will make our electoral process better. We have seen 7 judges today have affirmed that. Going forward, yes, indeed, it is a big loss for Raila Odinga, but a big win for democracy.
Yes, true. In my view, as we await for the final decision, which will be quite a number of pages, that judgment will really help us to do a number of things. It will assist our parliament to come up with legislation to improve our electoral processes. Secondly, that judgment will develop our jurisprudence when it comes to electoral matters. Of course, it has a lot of bearing to multiple other petitions relating to other positions. Also for legal education, it will assist us, and for completeness of record. So we need to thank Honorable Raila for taking us through all these petitions. Of course, no person can describe the laws than former Kakamega Senator Malala. And we must thank him. We must say that he has really contributed to development of electoral processes. Finally, on that aspect, I would like the other courts, the judges of the High Court, judges of the Court of Appeal, also to embrace the issues that have been raised by the Supreme Court for consistent jurisprudence on electoral matters. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you so much, constitutional lawyer Henry Kurauka. We have been here since morning, and thank you so much for your insight. And just as the president-elect has talked about, thank you so much, because Nikujitolea, he talked about all the lawyers in his legal team.
Asante
actually had all the time, and they decided to do it for free. Thank you so much for your insight and for your time. Back to you, Gisore. What does it talk about when you talk about the jurisprudence that is the precedent that is set by the petitions that we've had? Because talking about the Honorable Raila Odinga is that in 2013 and 2 in 2017 and 1 in 2022, all presidential elections. And if you ask me, the presidential petitions, not only do they point out some of the issues that we should be looking at as a country, but it will better the jurisprudence. Looking at 7 issues, the 9 issues, and all judges had affirmed. What can we get from this petition that will aid us to make the 2027 election and all the other elections that may come in between far much better than we've ever had as a country?
I think for me, I would want to first thank Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, because it's because of his temerity that we have been able to even be able to celebrate today's judgment the way we have. Because right from 2013, there has been development in terms of jurisprudence at the Supreme Court, that is at the Apex Court, and that has contributed greatly to the changing of our laws to align them with the Constitution. Why I also want to congratulate him further is for having the courage to go to court this time round, because some people could have said, why go to the court? You've been beaten. where again go to court. But he said, I'm not doing it for Kenyans. I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for Kenyans. And indeed, we have seen that is actually what us. For me, I think, as I said earlier in the show in the morning, the most important thing was my point number 6, where at least even the court itself did realize that indeed the working of IEBC is not in order. It needs to be fixed. I expect the judgment which comes forth, the full judgment, should be able to highlight some of the areas, actually some of the key things which they thought need to be looked into deeply, so that we can again give it to Parliament to pass the necessary legislation or amendments to ensure that if we will find ourselves in 2027 at this particular spot, we will at least be clear on what is expected. So pointing forward, I'm seeing a situation whereby we're going to have the Supreme Court, or somebody thinking twice before going to the Supreme Court, because if you count your eggs and you realize they are short, you just keep quiet and concede. And that is a situation which we will be happy to have in future. And that is courtesy of the efforts of Raila Amolo Odinga.
Yeah, actually I wanted to toss it back to you, Ray, but perhaps we'll get the final say here on what IEBC Chair Wafula Chebukati has mentioned there. Just shows you or underscores how election matters in Kenya are a matter of life and death. And some of the lessons that he has talked about there is that intimidation, threat, and everything. But unfortunately, that is exactly what we've had since the Zacchaeus Chesoni-led Electoral Commission, to the Kivoito-led, to the Isaac Hassan, now to the Wafula Chebukati. But the good thing is that Wafula Chebukati is exiting the electoral body. His head is held high after conducting the biggest and perhaps one of the most contested election in the country.
Now, before we even, just throw some spanner into the box, Ben, as well as Wakili here, what has come out very clear during this particular petition is that we have focused on matters ICT. ICT has gravely been mentioned, and you know, the process, the portal and such. And some of the key lessons that we may actually pick on in as far as ICT is concerned, we would say ICT is a good servant but also a terrible master if it's not used well. When we talk about the constitution of the IEBC, Wakili, in closing, I think this is the second last question posed to you. What are we likely to see now that this is the last election that is going to be officiated by Chair Wafula Chebukati? So it means we have an opening going forth. Now, the use of the use of ICT by IEBC, as the judges said there, well, it was well informed to include efficiency and such. But now, lessons that we can learn from here, allegations of hacking and unhacking, numbers that do not add up. What are we likely to see? What impact is it going to have in as far as ICT resource is concerned in the country?
I think that was put very clearly by the court, and the chairman, Wafula Chebukati, has also highlighted some of the things that they are going back to get reports from the stakeholders, and that he has been very key, and I want to thank him because part of the success of this election was because he involved stakeholders from the word go in the previous. He even got a report, even got an audit report of the 2017 election, and even implemented the minor KI case of the 2017. So what we are actually going to see in future, is the fact that ICT is going to play a key role, because with those allegations coming forth, you don't just wish them away ever, that the court did not find them sufficient. It's important to assuage the fears of Kenyans that indeed, from where we stand, the election is going to be clean. And what I'm looking at is the perspective that there's that aspect of contracting Smartmatic. I think we're going to see less of that. We're going to see an IBC which I'm foreseeing an IBC which will be given enough resources to have their own system here locally, which will comply with our data regulations. Because now, if we are keenly to look at whatever it is that they did with Smartmatic, then we raise the issues. Why did we pass the Data Act 2019? Because if we can be able to violate it by having Smartmatic tell us we cannot give you that data, it does not belong to you, You just voted and that is it. Whatever it is you have in the system, that is all you paid for. Basically, that's what they fell short of telling us. Yeah. That, pesa yenu imeishia hapo. But then we are going to foresee a situation where we are going to have a data center here, an IBC which will be hosting everything from their own conveyance. They have been asking for money to have their own building. I hope they get it this time, and money to set up their own system, which they will be conducting. So that if we want to audit it, we audit it from within.
Local.
Here. Now, that would be interesting.
Sorry. We solve ICT problems solved locally.
Yes.
Final question. What is your anticipation for a Ruto presidency, borrowing from the speech that he just made this evening? He said he's ready to be held accountable by an opposition, but as it stands right now, we have already seen Kenya Kwanza assimilate a majority of the independent candidates, and from November, yes, he's going to have the majority at least at the National Assembly.
Yes, I'm expecting a Ruto presidency which is going to be very vibrant. I'm sure there are people who think otherwise, but I don't myself, because look at the man. He has risen literally from nothing, and we have seen his way up. From the time he was even with Raila Odinga in 2007, he was complaining of the same issues which people are complaining of today. The people on the other side are complaining. But he walked himself out of that. He said, I cannot run for president and be able to come and cry foul. And he said, you're not going to steal my election. I'm going to just go for this and I'm going to win. And he has won. I think he has been vindicated on what he was saying. So first, for me, I think we're going to see a very vibrant leadership from him, because he's a man who leads from the front rather than from the back. Secondly, we are going to see a person who is going to ensure the things which he promised he needs to deliver. He said he's going to give a comprehensive statement later in time, and we are waiting to see whatever it is that he will put his priorities on for the first 100 days. But for me, I think he's a man who loves education. I'm expecting education to be upheld. He's a man who actually is after for the rule of law. I think he has quite mentioned that vehemently, and he's saying he's going to have the criminal justice system deal with the criminals, not start chasing people around for political whims. And that is going to be very interesting, because some people feel that he may not stand for that, but it's his word he has given, so we'll expect that he will be able to uphold it. And seeing an independent judiciary with a judicial fund, given that is a constitutional provision, it's just effecting it. Already we saw some process start. We just want to see that finalized. And especially there is the issue of the pending judges who had not been sworn. I don't know why people didn't ask that. We should have expected that to come forth, so that he commits himself or says, I'm going to appoint them, or I'm not going to appoint them because of 1, 2, 3. Because under the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta, we have seen that he has vehemently refused to appoint those judges for reasons which are very personal or particular to him. We couldn't be able to tell, because he has court orders, everything is there. We hope that his leadership will not be able to fall to that particular line. We're also anticipating a situation whereby somebody asked him about the stadiums. He comes from a region where people are pregnant of ideas of running and representing Kenya. We should be able to expect that some stadiums will have to be put up to actually vindicate him from what he had promised under the leadership of Uhuru Kenyatta. And most importantly, first, to start with, he needs to preach peace across the country and bring the country together. That is, I think, that one he doesn't have a choice. Because he's a Kenyan president, not
Advocate of the High Court there, Gibson Gisare, who has been gracing our studios from crack of dawn this morning, just helping us understand the legal implications of the decision that has been made by the Apex Court this afternoon. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. We look forward to further engagements. I've been your host, Regina Manyara. Now take it away, Ben Troy.
Indeed. Thank you so much. And re-echo what you've just said. Thank you so much for our viewers who have been keeping a keen eye. We are here early in the morning at about 6, and for following up keenly and maintaining peace. I think that's the most important. And Kenyans, so as to manage their expectations, the government is expected to deliver on all the promises. And I'm quite sure ladies are waiting waiting for the half cabinet of women. Thank you so much.